Welcome to the first video for Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm incredibly excited at this point because it's been so long since we've had a new Monster Hunter game come out, so it's really fun to finally be playing it. At this point, it's still just, well, for this fight in particular, it's still just fighting the monster from the beta. You might notice from the title and the thumbnail that I'm trying to be kind of ambiguous with this stuff, so early on in the release, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers being in the thumbnail or being in the direct video itself, but be aware that all of these videos will start almost immediately into a fight because I'm going to trim out any sort of cinematic that led into it. Because to my mind, the spoilers in this game are primarily the cinematics and whatnot. Because, I don't know, I personally have a habit of looking up a list of all the monster names. So I usually know what the monster names are and have a rough idea what they are. But I try to avoid watching the videos for anything that pops up after about the first 2 hours of gameplay. So I don't think the monsters themselves are that big of a spoiler. However, for the people that do, just be aware that that's how these videos are going to work. What I'll probably do is title them something like the normal AMP theme, but then in parentheses I'll put Monster 1 and Monster 2. Like this video is actually Monster 1 and Monster 2, by the way. And just in case I forget to put the chapter marker in, at about 7 minutes and 50 seconds is when this fight wraps up. And it goes immediately into the second fight. So if you don't want to see that, stop watching then. And I'm actually going to split the commentary up in this one since it's got 2 fights to avoid making spoilers for that second fight. So for this series, I will actually be trying to commentate on the actual current fight. Now, this guy is not really any different from the beta. Chatacabra is basically a punching bag. It's a cool looking punching bag. It reminds me of Tetsukabra, which, despite people really liking him, he's not exactly all that difficult either. So it kind of falls in line that the frog or toad themed monsters just really aren't that bad to deal with. But the first monster of the game can't be that hard, or else it heavily discourages people from continuing on with the game. The thing is, by the time you get done with him, he looks so beaten up you can't help but feel bad for him. I wasn't even really trying to break his tongue. I knew it was a thing that you could kind of do, but you'll see later in the fight, it actually looks like it does. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when he starts limping and running away, his tongue is really all sorts of messed up. And to the point where it was actually kind of brutal. Like, so far, even though it's not really that hard of a game, it seems like it's a little bit more brutal and a little bit more realistic in terms of how combat damage and stuff affects the monsters. Which is a good thing, because it does actually help play off one of the themes of Monster Hunter, which is usually, is it actually right to be purging nature and doing these sorts of things? You know, the hunters are portrayed as good guys, but there is always a kind of undercurrent of what's the line between properly hunting and managing the monsters and what's just overdoing it. So at least that's popped up a few times, except for with the elder dragons. They're almost always portrayed as such massive pits of ecological destruction that the only thing that rivals them is humanity as a whole. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. This is a good fight. It's a good starting fight. I actually think it's one of my favorite opening fights because he's weird. He does a lot of unusual moves, but he's very predictable. He has very large tails. I really hope at some point they'd introduce a subspecies or a variant version of it. Like now, there may be one in the game and I may have just missed it, but I would really like there to be an actually hard version of this guy because he's cool. He deserves to have something like that. And I always find it fun when they take a really early on monster and then make a very, very hard variant of them later on. By the way, I found it kind of funny that the quest accepted thing for him didn't pop up until a pretty decent ways into the fight. Like there's really not much left before he gets taken down. Alright, so I've said pretty much everything I want to say about Chatacabra here, so I'm going to stop commenting at this point and jump ahead to the next fight. See you there.
looks like it's moving to a new area.
This kind of surprised me. I didn't expect that Chromatrice was going to end up being or Chromatrice, or however you say it, was going to end up being the second fight in the game. For some reason in my head, I had to assume Doshigama would be the second fight. I think it's just the beta got me in the habit of Chotacabra, then Doshigama. But this is actually a pretty cool dude. My father actually had a hobby of raising hens, roosters, various types of chickens as I was growing up, and so I've spent quite a bit of time around those types of birds. And just from what few screens and stuff I saw of Chromatrice back when the screenshots and stuff were coming out, for whatever reason it didn't click that he's basically a fuzzy rooster. And so it's really cool to me. It may just be my nostalgia kicking in on this, but the fire theme, all that stuff, it sort of makes sense to me. Can't really give you a good explanation as to why it makes sense to me. It just seems to fit. Could be, I don't know, my heavy association with chickens in the heat. That was the biggest thing that I remember doing with them, was being out in the sunlight and helping them take care of them. But it's been many, many years since I've actually had anything to do with chickens, but the dude was still a cool little bit of nostalgia. And he is actually a little bit of a step up from Chotacabra. He's not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a bit more of a threat, as in he was actually consistently doing a little bit more damage to me. Didn't really take much more effort to take down than Chotacabra did. As a matter of fact, he ended up starting limping before I even realized that he was going to. But I couldn't just stand around and spam attacks, even though that's pretty much what I tried to do, without taking some sort of punishment for it. So, really cool fight, good secondary fight. I love the behaviors that he has that actually seem reminiscent of a rooster. And I don't know, I just really enjoy the way this one has been structured and put together. He's really cool visually and really cool in the way he behaves. So, hope you've enjoyed the video. Remember, if I can kill it, so can you.